I'm Lauren Simonetti here with your business coverage for the next 25 minutes or so. We hope you stay tuned. It's Wednesday, which means it's our small business day, and we're going to go straight to Philadelphia. We have Gene Marks, a small business owner and an expert on these things, joining us. Hi, Gene. Good morning.
Hey, Lauren. How are you?
Very good. Well, it's summer, and that means big business for some businesses out there. They do see a seasonal spike, and you have some tips for us about hiring.
That is, yeah, that's correct. I mean, as we're heading into the summer months, a lot of small businesses and large businesses are looking to hire people. So there's a whole bunch of things you need to know about seasonal employees. One thing I can tell you, though, is that whether you're looking for a job right now, coming out of college, there is a lot of realities that you have to face.
Yeah, and I believe you're facing, or will maybe face them in about 4 years, right? With your kids just going into college.
Yeah. I mean, hard to believe it, but I've got 3 kids that are in 12th grade now, so they're all going to college
Triplets?
in September. Yeah, scary.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
still looking for that fertility doctor, okay? So if you find them, let me know. But anyways, they're all starting college in September, which means they'll graduate in 4 years. And, if you're a parent of a kid and you're trying to give them advice for when they're going into college and what jobs they're going to look for when they graduate, there is reality they have to face. One of the realities is that if you're graduating college now, you're really going to have to start at the very lowest level. Starting salaries are low, unemployment is still relatively high, and your goal is to get a foot in the door. Even if it's an apprenticeship or some type of a part-time job, you have to get into the workforce in some way, and you have to have a plan for doing that. That's just the reality of it now. And as a small business owner, we're looking for college kids to hire to do part-time or contract work for us, but we don't have a lot of extra money to pay, but we do have a lot of experience and training to give. So that should be your first goal if you're a kid looking for a job, and if you're a small business owner looking to hire somebody as well.
So if you're
parents also,
go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's
well, I was
okay.
just going to say that parents themselves, like myself, we have some responsibilities as well. Lauren, in 2013, you got to kind of look ahead and say, when your kids graduate, you're not done paying the tuition. You're going to have to continue helping them out. Kids want to get their own start and be independent. They may have to take those lower, paying jobs, and may still need some help from their parents to kind of make ends meet for a few years until they can get themselves to the level where they're completely on their own.
Do you think parents are prepped for that?
I think a lot of parents are. I mean, we see what the reality is, that there's a huge percentage of kids. I mean, friends and neighbors of my own where kids are going on to grad school and kids need help and financial assistance there. But then the kids that graduate with jobs, I mean, you start out in New York where starting salaries are still very relatively low. Even if you pack 4 kids in an apartment in New York City, you still need some help and some spare change to, pay for some entertainment or at least for your food. So a lot of parents I know are building that expectation. And you just have to remember, if your kid is graduating this year, you should be preparing yourself to provide them with help. I know I am. Sometime in the next 4 years, we're going to have to be doing that.
I know you feel bad, but parents have to be asking themselves, when is enough enough? You've done so much for so long. That's your retirement money for your golden years. All right, let's get back to one of the tips that you gave us. You said when hiring for the summer, know the independent contractor rules. What exactly should we know about that?
Sure. So now we're talking from the aspect of a small business owner like myself. So if you're going to hire somebody to do work for you during the summer, whether it's short-term or it's long-term, they're really going to need to make sure that you understand what the independent contracting rules are. So, and the IRS has got some specific guidelines on it. Without throwing out a long website for you, just Google independent contracting rules in IRS. What is that? There's a difference between if you have an employee and a contractor, right? Mm-hmm. So, if you have an employee, you've got responsibilities. I mean, you have to withhold, FICA taxes and Medicare taxes. You may need to provide them with health insurance or other benefits. There are certain rules that apply to having an employee. You can't just fire them. They might be, able to get unemployment insurance. So a lot of small business owners say, you know what? We don't want to deal with hiring an employee and having those responsibilities. We just want to have a 1099 person. We're going to hire a kid or a seasonal worker, and we're just going to pay them by a contract. Just give them a specific payment each week, and they won't be an employee. But there are specific rules around doing that, and you have to be very careful. For example, if the person working for you, even in a seasonal capacity, is spending a lot of time doing that work for you, they are in a situation where you might have to consider that they are an employee. Mm-hmm. Because if the IRS comes in and says, hey, look, they're working for you full time, they really do look like they're a full-time employee for you, you may have to go back and be subject to penalties or back taxes if you haven't been withholding them.
Right.
So you really want to take a look at those rules and be very careful as to whether somebody's an independent contractor or if they're an employee.
All right, I just want to go to the chat right now. Big Vinny 323, you say you have to repost this. For parents worrying about the cost of college for their kids, you say, for years they've been telling us that in order to get a good job, you need a college education. Turns out all you need is a GED rather, and you can get a high-paying job with security clearance with the government. Take that, all you young folks in debt, up to your eyeballs and no job. Yeah, that's how a lot of people feel right now. Okay, I want to talk about, Gene, the small business environment out there. Yesterday, we got a report from the National Federation of Independent Businesses on the optimism level of small businesses in America. It turns out second highest since the recession, that for the month of May. 8 of the 10 sectors looked at did show improvement and see improvement. However, 2 sectors did not, and one of them being the obvious here. And it in some ways contradicts a little bit of our segment, that small businesses don't feel optimistic about the hiring outlook.
You know, it's funny. First of all, you have to take those numbers into consideration. It's the highest that it's been in a year, so since last May, and it's the second highest since the recession. But if you really look at the graph, Lauren, over the last 5 years or so, you know, small business confidence is still at a historical low. I mean, really far below what it was before the recession hit back in 2007. And that just kind of speaks to our hiring outlook itself. There are 2 things going on. There is a very slow growth economy that we're experiencing right now. That's number one. So for a guy like me, you know, to hire somebody when my business isn't growing at a certain pace, it really takes a lot of considerations if I want to incur that cost. I'll tell you the second trend that's going on as well with businesses my size and a little bit bigger is outsourcing. I mean, it is very easy right now to find outsourced people to do a lot of the work that, say, a full-time or a part-time employee had to do for us maybe 10 years ago. There are great websites out there to locate people. There's plenty of technology tools to get people keyed into your business. So you have the ability to really find people to do specific tasks, pay them for 10 hours or 20 hours or 15 hours a week maybe, so they don't qualify as an employee. Again, if you're within those subcontracting rules.
Right.
But I think that stops a lot of small businesses from hiring. So
yeah, you're absolutely
those 2 factors
right.
are influencing me.
You're absolutely right, and that's where the big question comes in. A lot of big and small businesses have made do with the resources that they have. They've cut costs in every way possible. You know, if one worker gets laid off, they split their tasks, that worker's tasks among all the other employees. You might not even really feel that you lost that worker, but you come to a point where you can't grow your revenue, grow your top line without really making those investments. And I don't think we're seeing anybody make those big investments right now.
They're really not. And you know what the issue is that when you have so many small businesses opting to not bring employees on, they're hiring contractors out to do specific tasks. Well, those contractors have their own clients. So I know for a fact that I use people that are also working for 5 or 10 or 15 other small businesses, right? So where's that, you know, that commitment and that long-term investment? Is that really providing a value to my business? I mean, I worry about that. When you think about it, if I ever wanted to sell my business someday in the future, and I go to a prospective buyer and say, yes, well, I've got the Marks Group, and we've got 20 subcontractors that are doing work for me, that has a lot less value to somebody, an intangible value, than if you actually have employees that are committed to your company. But right now, it's very, very tough to make that investment and bring that employee on. So it's an interesting thing to think where that's going to lead to the value of companies, you know, a decade from now.
Gene Marks, thank you so much. Thank you for your perspective this morning. We're going to put your website up on the screen, and I'm going to go to our chat. Isn't anyone listening is answering Big Vinny, saying it's not what you know, it's who you know. That is true most of the time. Okay, heading to a break now. We'll be back right after this.